Hello and welcome to the final cybersecurity meetup of the year, December. We are done until next year, which is like only 2 weeks away, so you're not going to miss us very much. But we want to welcome you to this month's cybersecurity meetup. I'm here with my friends and co-conspirators, Jeff Dix and Anil Melwani. And we are going to talk today about 2025, what we can expect to see across the threat landscape going into next year, basically into next year, but extending into the future in general. So, Jeff, why don't you tee it up? Why don't you get started?
All right. Yeah, I think probably the biggest thing that we're going to encounter in cybersecurity next year is AI-driven attacks. AI is growing so rapidly and so quickly. It's very overwhelming to keep up. Threat actors and nation states are going to take advantage of AI to enhance their attacks on networks in our country. Phishing is going to be a matter of child's play for them. It will be more difficult for us to filter out phishing emails in our mail filtering systems that we have deployed for our clients and that many organizations have deployed to try to reduce the amount of phishing emails that they receive. The old days where the misspellings and the certain key indicators in incoming phishing mails is going to be gone, because AI is going to take all that out, and we're going to definitely see an increase in phishing emails. It's going to make the skill level for threat actors even lower, because they're going to be able to rely on AI to write code, malicious code, malware, to take advantage of other ransomware or malware as a service organizations that are out there providing those types of services. And I'm just expecting a really giant increase in attacks that an AI is going to be able to be used to exponentially increase the number of attacks that are going on out there against networks. And there's already a high number, but it's just gonna make cybersecurity professionals' lives even more difficult.
Well, one question that I get quite a bit from people is, well, I know the bad guys are using AI, but are the good guys using AI? Like, what are we doing to leverage AI to help defend against those kinds of threats? Either one of you want to tackle that question?
Yeah, happy to. Yes, of course, AI is being used by the good guys as much as it is by the bad guys. Being able to detect anomalies on networks, in real time, or even basically faster than real time, is, I think, one of the best uses of AI. I see it, I've been reading articles that say, endpoint detection and response that's based on AI is going to be a game changer. So, the workstations basically know what your normal behavior is, and if they see something that's outside of that behavior, it's gonna lock it down if needed, or alert, or bring in a security team, because it doesn't sleep, so it's constantly watching 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. So I see that as a really big positive, and I think we'll see a lot more of that in 2025. Is going to be AI driven security tools.
Yeah, I know that, to Jeff's point about phishing becoming much more sophisticated, I know that the vendor that we use, Mail Protector, for our email filtering is working to implement AI type technologies within their tools, so that it can recognize, not based on what's written, but more like, okay, this is too well written, this is like a little bit too good, that this is another indicator that this is not something that a human would put together, that this is something that a generative AI engine would put together. So being able to detect those sorts of things, just like the school teachers use tools to determine whether somebody wrote a school paper using AI online, because they can now detect those they know what to look for. Our tools will be able to do that as well, and so there is a defensive part of AI that I think will make a big difference next year, but it's this constant pull push of the bad guys doing something and then us trying to catch up, and it's a never-ending race.
Yeah, the defenders are always at a disadvantage because there'll be AI-driven attacks, and then there'll be time to develop the tools or the technologies with AI as a defense to mitigate those attacks. So it's like the old malware and viruses. The virus comes out and starts hitting organizations' networks, and then there's a delay in the response and the defense response. But it should really go a long way. AI should really go a long way in helping identify whether you have a threat actor inside your network, which has always been a challenge in our space, small and medium-sized businesses. Most businesses have not invested in the technologies to help them detect whether a threat actor is inside their network. So I really like Anil mentioned that it's 7x24. So there'll be tools that will be watching for that not normal behavior that might be able to identify whether you have a threat actor in your network, and then also an automated response on how to either close down your public firewall port or do mitigations automatically to keep that threat locker isolated and not doing nefarious business inside an organization's network.
All right, well, let's move off AI. One of the other trends that I'm seeing that actually started over the last couple of years, but I think will accelerate, is cyber criminals not only using ransomware to encrypt data, but actually exfiltrate that data and then try to get you to pay a ransom to get that data back, or else they're going to release it to the public. And in particular, we see this being happening in healthcare, where they're being targeted very actively because those records are so sensitive that the threat actors believe that healthcare facilities or healthcare providers would do anything that they can to keep that information from going public. So those are high value targets. There's a saying that became famous a few years ago that data or information is the new oil, in the sense that that's where all the money's at. What do you guys think about that?
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree. And we've had a local hospital in Watsonville that's currently undergoing and recovering from some sort of an event. But I wouldn't be surprised that if as more is found out about that incident, that there was a lot of exfiltrated data from the hospital, which is patient data governed by HIPAA, the HIPAA laws and rules. So there could be catastrophic financial consequences for the hospital once we really figure out and understand and it's released more about the nature of the event. So definitely data exfiltration, I think, is the name of the game for 2025, not just encryption.
Yeah, and not to go back again, but this is where AI really can kick in too, because once the bad guys get into a hospital's network and get their hands on that data, AI can instantaneously find the important data that they would want to use for extortion, rather than relying on a human to comb through that data and try and find something related to a politician or a celebrity or anything that could be extremely critical or extremely sensitive. The AI can do that virtually instantaneously, and I see that being a big part of data extortion is going to be the use of AI.
Yeah, and it's not just extortion against the people that the data was stolen from, but when you look at healthcare, there was that infamous story a few years ago about a psychiatric clinic that got attacked, and data was stolen from them. And the threat actors not only went after them to try to get them to pay a ransom, but they actually started calling the patients because that's data, and they saw that there were several very notable people that had received treatment at this facility, and they were calling those folks saying, hey, if you don't pay us, we're going to let the world know that you suffered from schizophrenia or bipolar disease, or that you were a victim when you were young of sexual abuse and you're still dealing with it. All this very embarrassing information that they were threatening to reveal. So these poor folks who had already been traumatized now got traumatized again by the bad guys. So that they're getting very creative in how they get their money, and they're not above going after your clients or your customers if they can get that data, and if they see that there's an opportunity there to exploit that data as well, which is another reason that you have to be very proactive about doing whatever you can to protect this information, because that's what they want. They know that information is valuable, and if they can get it, they can make money with it.
It's the name of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
On there.
And speaking of that, I think this is a good time to talk about that recent telco hack by the Chinese-backed cybercrime gangs. Jeff, do you want to tee that one up?
Yeah, so there's been more information coming out about that incident. China, as a nation state, is for many years have been targeting information organizations with all kinds of information that might be valuable to them. If you look at some of their recent fighter designs in their Air Force, they look very similar to a lot of the types of planes that we produce and spent millions and millions of dollars in research and development. And the ability to steal that information it's going to be child's play with AI. But getting back to the phone hack, so yeah, it was discovered that Chinese nation state actors were in a lot of phone systems throughout the country. They're testing their ability to penetrate our phone systems. They were targeting congressmen, senators, anybody in the government, Department of Defense, and apparently were fairly successful in being able to sit within telephony systems and watch text messages as they go by, SMS text messages. As we know, or a lot of us are familiar, have used SMS as a second factor in, if we log on to our bank, we have a username and password, and they'll send us an SMS text message that we have to put in the number for the second factor before we're authenticated onto the portal. Well, that's probably not the best idea anymore, because it's been shown, the Chinese have proven and are showing that they have the ability to intercept text messages, which means that second factor is now, for the most part, been mitigated, and there's an easy way around it. So there's been some information coming out from CISA, the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, that has recommendations on how you should handle your telephony communication. And if you don't mind, Lewis, if you wouldn't mind putting that link in the chat for folks to take a look at. It's got some really good recommendations, but one of the number one recommendations is don't use SMS as a second factor for authentication. So all the folks that we've helped get that set up, all our customers and clients that we've helped get set up, we're going to have to go back to them and say, hey, this is no longer a secure second factor for authentication, and we're going to have to make some recommendations to replace that second factor with something that's more reliable, like maybe a fingerprint or a face ID. There's going to have to be more technology developed to make sure that we have secure two-factor authentication.
Yeah, and one of the things that they recommend is that you use RCS, which is an encryption system that is available to certain texting apps. When you send text, and maybe use something like WhatsApp, which is encrypted, or Signal, which is very, very popular with a lot of people for communication. Signal in particular is popular because they're a foundation, so they're a nonprofit that have built this app, and they provide it free of charge, and they are very big privacy advocates. So they don't collect metadata, they don't require anything for you to use this app other than your phone number, and they promise to never use any of the information that is going across their environment, like some others, like Meta, who owns WhatsApp, and they like to send you ads and things like that. So there's a certain downside to using that particular application. But there's many out there that do use encryption, and the feds, because of the continuing threat of those Chinese threat actors that are still embedded in those phone systems. They are, they're desperately trying to dig them out, but it seems like every time they it's like playing whack-a-mole. Every time they close one hole, another one pops up. So it's the kind of threat that I think we're going to see more and more of next year. These geopolitical supply chain attacks that go after the United States' industrial base. We're going to see a significant increase in those kind of attacks, I think, going into next year.
Yeah, definitely. And just to add on to what you're saying there, my team here at ATG is experimenting with passwordless login with the Microsoft Authenticator agent, which can be deployed to phones. And that system, it does two things. It gets rid of the man-in-the-middle attack, which is a vulnerability for most MFA, multi-factor authentication, or 2FA, used sort of synonymously. But it also relies on a biometric, either thumbprint, or if you've got like an iOS phone, you've already got the app there that recognizes your face and authenticates you to many iOS-based applications. So that the combination of the two, getting rid of the man-in-the-middle attack and adding a biometric, should make that second factor authentication much more secure. And that's what we see most of. My team's dealing mostly with business email compromises. Some organizations still don't have MFA deployed, but some have MFA deployed, but the threat actors are getting around it because of the man-in-the-middle attack, and potentially, with this Chinese event, the Chinese can get access, or the Chinese threat actors can get access to those SMS one-time password codes, and potentially, get around your two-factor authentication. So that's going to be a big focus for us. We're going to get ready to start experimenting that here at ATG. And that system to see if it's something we can deploy for our clients in 2025, hopefully.
Yeah. The other thing that happens in 2025 that we should mention is the Windows 10 end of support. So that's there's a date certain, if you will, in October of next year. Microsoft will stop issuing any sort of patches or security upgrades to Windows 10, the operating system, and so they're pushing everybody to move to Windows 11 as soon as possible, because we know that as soon as security patches are no longer available, there's still tons of exploits that are vulnerabilities that are that exist, that the bad guys know about, that they're just,
and one's
on
not
the sidelines.
not discovered yet too.
Yeah, exactly. And once they get discovered, then you're on your own, because Microsoft is saying we're not going to invest the time and money to patch those systems. And so I think that the estimate, I know we have still over 1,000 systems that our clients have that are Windows 10 systems that we're projecting to be replaced over the course of the next 10 months or so. But it is something that you always have to worry about, is what support are you getting from your vendor, whether it's a firewall or whether it's an operating system. If they make the patch available, you should apply the patch, because there's a reason the patch exists, and if you don't, you're making yourself out to be a victim at some point in the future.
Yeah, that ties back to AI again, because one of the models for an AI attack from an insider threat, whether it be a threat actor or otherwise, is you're going to be able to very quickly, somebody on the inside of a network, be able to scan the network and be able to identify those vulnerabilities, and then automatically exploit them with the AI engine. So it's for a while, people were not worried quite so much about patching, because they had defense in depth deployed. We had multiple tools that could prevent some of these vulnerabilities from being taken advantage of, even though they're there. But now with the advent of AI and AI malware attacks, or AI attacks in general, it's you've got to patch everything that you can patch, and you've got to have licensed software that's under support. That's if you've got software on your network, it's got to be licensed and it's got to be patched, because otherwise your attack surface is just too large, and you're going to be highly susceptible to being exploited by AI attacks. Sorry, I interrupted there, Neil.
No, that's okay. I was just gonna, say, I mean, it's all going back to a subject that Lewis mentioned a minute ago about supply chain attacks. There's only so much that you can do within your own organization. Obviously, you can get rid of all your Windows 10 machines and, like you say, reduce your attack surface. But it's really critical for businesses to identify who their key vendors are and make sure that they're also following best practices. Are they getting rid of those Windows 10 machines? Are they using, licensed and supported software? Because that is a big target, I think, that's going to be exploited more in 2025, is the bad guys trying to find out who your key vendors, your key partners are. Like, can you continue to do business or deliver to your customers and clients without this vendor being able to support you? Because if we bring them down, is that also going to bring you down?
Yeah, and sometimes you're going to have direct connections or virtual connections to your third party suppliers in some cases. So even if you're secure, you've got a connection to a vendor, and they're a mess in the back end. The threat actors are going to come and attack that vendor and get into your network, even though you're doing everything you can at a high level. You've got to be really conscious of those types of connections with your vendor partners.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you a story of a hospital that I know of, who shall remain nameless, that their third-party claims company, that is the people that file their all the insurance reimbursement claims so that they can get paid, got hacked, and they were down for almost 20 days. So they could not file any claims, and that was costing them upwards of $20 million a day. And that's cash flow, right? If you can't collect $20 million a day, how much money do you have in the bank to pay your bills, right? They were fortunate in that they had the wherewithal to survive while the claims adjuster or the claims company was working out the issue. But if you have a vendor that you need to basically survive, your business to survive, you need to understand that they're doing everything that they can to protect themselves, or you need to find another vendor. So third-party vendor management is something that I think we're going to see a lot more going into next year, and we're starting to see it in insurance, cyber insurance policy questionnaires. Like, do you do third-party vendor management? And the question becomes, what does that mean? And so for us, what that means is, if you are a business, make sure that you identify who your critical vendors and maybe critical customers too, because that the other end of that is what happens if your customers can't pay you because they've been, hacked or breached, and they're suddenly telling you, sorry, our system's down, we can't write that big check that you need. So it becomes this. That's why we call it supply chain, right? Because it's not just you; it's a chain of everybody that's involved in a transaction, and understanding who all those players are and making sure that all those players are doing everything they can to protect themselves is going to be a key in going into 2025.
I agree with that completely. It's not just your organization and your business. People need to CEOs and higher folks, C-level folks need to view the business as not only their business, but their critical suppliers. Because if, like you say, if one of those suppliers is not able to deliver and it's a critical function to your business is going to suffer.
Yeah, and you just remind me of something else. Thinking about nation states. I was reading an article a few weeks ago talking about the fact that with the incoming administration, being very aggressive about implementing tariffs across the board, one of the concerns is that some of the countries that will be tariffed are going to retaliate, not by using tariffs against us, but by unleashing cyber attacks or encouraging cyber attacks to cripple our infrastructure. And so IoT, the Internet of Things, all these devices that we depend on to basically survive every day, whether it's your alarm system at your house or your business, to the water treatment facility that you depend on to get clean water. Those will become targeted. They're already being targeted, but the chances are that those targets or those attacks will increase dramatically going into next year.
Yeah, and like you think of the Chinese into the phone systems, I think for the most part they're doing a lot of reconnaissance and they're testing their capabilities. But what if they're in the phone systems and they can bring down major portions of the phone system in the United States during an attack, or hold the phone system for ransom, right?
Yeah.
As a retaliation to the terrorists that they're most likely coming. So, yeah, it's pretty scary days out there.
Neil, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of stuff that will keep us up at night. I mean, we gotta try and always stay one step ahead of the bad guys, which is basically impossible, but we do everything we can to make sure that our clients are safe, secure, and successful, and just rely on technology that's emerging and coming forward that will make things more secure and more safe, and basically just doing what we do every day. That's the best we can do going forward into 2025 is to just try and keep everything as secure as we possibly can.
Yeah, and we are always looking at new tools, new services that can help our clients protect themselves or prevent them from being victimized by threat actors. And there's a lot of stuff out there, but as we learn more and we talk to our clients about it and introduce new technologies that can make them more secure, one of the things that I think we always told them is, look, you're not too small. Sometimes you hear that excuse,
interested in me.
Yeah, nobody's interested in me. I'm too small. The fact of the matter is that the bad guys are equal opportunity employers. They don't care how big you are or how small you are. If they can get in there and exploit, they will. And every business needs to do whatever they can to protect themselves and protect their employees and customers.
Absolutely, 100% agree.
Well,
are we out of time? We're almost at the end.
Yeah, we got a few minutes left. I've been keeping an eye out. I haven't seen any questions or comments in there. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to throw them out there.
If not, I think we can wrap early.
Yeah.
Give you guys back a couple minutes of your time. Thank you for joining us this month for our cybersecurity meetup. We will be back next month, back at our regular time at the last Thursday of the month, rather than the change that we made this month because of the holidays. But we hope you have a great holiday season. We hope you have a great New Year, and we'll talk to you at the end of January.
Yeah, see y'all next year, as the joke
Happy
goes.
holidays, Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Take care.
Thanks for joining.